Your kitchen looked amazing in the design software. The contractor pulled up the 3D render, you nodded along, signed off on everything, and now 6 months later, you are standing in that kitchen staring at a backsplash that you genuinely cannot stand to look at anymore. That statement tile that seemed bold and beautiful on screen is now controlling every single decision you try to make in that space. The paint color, the bar stools, the dish towels, even the small appliances sitting on the counter. One tile choice, and now you feel completely stuck with it for the next decade. If that sounds familiar, or if you are about to start a kitchen renovation and you want to avoid ending up in that exact situation, hit subscribe before we begin, because this is exactly the kind of thing I talk about on this channel every single week. I'm Jerry Davis, and I've spent years doing construction, renovation, and design work. And I can tell you without hesitation that the kitchen is where I see the most expensive regret. More than bathrooms, more than master bedrooms, more than outdoor spaces. People budget big for kitchens. They make fast decisions because they are excited, and then they live with those decisions for 10, 15, sometimes 20 years. And some of the choices that seemed brilliant at the time, they make daily life harder, they hurt resale value, and some of them genuinely cost more to maintain than a simpler choice ever would have. So today, I'm going through 7 kitchen design features that I think homeowners need to seriously reconsider before they commit. These are not obscure, niche details. These are things that come up in kitchen renovation conversations every single week, and almost every one of them is driven by what looks good in photos rather than what actually works when you are in that kitchen every day cooking, cleaning, and trying to function like a real human being. Let's get into it. The first one is open shelving in place of upper cabinets. And I know. Before you click off, hear me out. Open shelving is everywhere right now. It looks clean, it looks airy, it photographs beautifully, and every kitchen renovation account on social media is pushing it like it is the answer to every cluttered, outdated kitchen. And I completely understand why it is appealing. You feel like the kitchen opens up. You feel like it breathes. You feel like some kind of minimalist chef living in a Scandinavian design feature. That part I get entirely. But here is what no one tells you. Open shelving requires a level of discipline and daily maintenance that most people simply do not want to deal with in a working kitchen. The kitchen produces more airborne grease, steam, and fine dust than any other room in your house. Everything on those shelves gets coated in a thin film of cooking residue over time. Your dishes, your glasses, your bowls, your decorative cutting boards, all of it. And it is not like wiping down a bathroom shelf. This is grease mixed with dust, and it sticks to everything it touches. On top of that, open shelving only looks good if absolutely everything on it looks good. That means no mismatched mugs, no random stack of Tupperware lids that do not match anything, no pile of takeout menus, no paper plates from a birthday party, no half-empty bottles of olive oil shoved to the back. Everything has to be curated like a store display at all times. And honestly, most people's kitchens do not work like that. We have weird stuff. We have things that do not match. We have things we need within reach that do not belong in a magazine spread. The moment real life shows up on those shelves, the whole aesthetic falls apart completely. Here is what I recommend instead. Keep your upper cabinets. If you want the open, airy feel without the chaos, add glass front cabinet doors on 2 or 3 of the upper sections closest to the sink or a focal wall. You get the visual lightness, you get to display a few nice pieces that you actually keep clean, and everything else stays behind closed doors where it belongs. That combination photographs beautifully, adds a custom feel, and actually functions in real life for regular people. That is the move. Now let's talk about the backsplash, because this is the one that drives me absolutely nuts. People come into a kitchen renovation with a mood board full of bold geometric patterns, hand-painted tile, maximalist prints, or dramatic color, and they are genuinely excited. And I do not want to crush that energy, but I will be straight with you about what I have seen happen 6 months to 3 years after the install. That loud tile might look exciting today, but in 3 years, it is going to be controlling every paint color, every towel, every light fixture, and every accessory you try to add or update in that kitchen. A bold backsplash becomes the loudest thing in the room by default, and everything else either has to match it or compete with it. And when you get tired of it, and a significant number of people do, changing a backsplash is not a small job. You are looking at demolition, drywall patching, or backer board repair, retiling and refinishing, and that is if the substrate behind it held up during removal. It adds up fast. The other issue is that a lot of trendy tile styles have very short shelf lives in terms of how current they feel. Chevron layouts, subway tile in unconventional colors, Moroccan-inspired geometric prints, they all feel fresh for a few years, and then they start to feel very specific to a moment, which is fine if you genuinely love it and you are staying in that house forever. But if there is any chance you sell within the next several years, a polarizing backsplash can genuinely slow your sale or affect how buyers emotionally respond to your kitchen, even if everything else is done well. My recommendation here is to go neutral on the backsplash. A classic white or light warm gray subway tile in a 3x6 or 4x8 size, laid in a standard brick offset pattern, is never going to offend a single buyer and is never going to feel wildly dated. If you want texture or visual interest, get it from the grout color. A slightly darker charcoal or warm gray grout on white tile looks clean, intentional, and interesting without screaming for attention every morning. Save your bold personal choices for things that are inexpensive and easy to swap out later. A ceramic tile backsplash permanently set in thin set mortar is not one of those things. The third kitchen feature I want to address is the oversized kitchen island. And I know, islands have basically become a non-negotiable expectation in any kitchen renovation. But the size and placement of that island matters more than almost anything else in the room, and I see this done wrong constantly. Here is where people mess up. They see a larger than expected kitchen and think, let's maximize the island. They go bigger because bigger feels more impressive in the showroom. What they do not account for is workflow clearance. Building code and basic ergonomic standards call for at least 42 inches of clearance on working sides of an island, and ideally 48 inches if more than one person is likely to be cooking or moving around at the same time. When that clearance drops to 36 inches or less, you have created a bottleneck right in the center of your kitchen. You and another person cannot pass each other comfortably. You cannot have the dishwasher fully open and still navigate around it. The refrigerator door swings out and suddenly someone is trapped against the counter. It becomes a daily frustration that no amount of beautiful countertop material is going to fix. The other mistake is putting seating on the wrong side of the island entirely. If your island seating faces a blank wall or a row of lower cabinets, the people sitting there are staring at nothing and feel completely disconnected from the rest of the house. The best setup puts island seating on the side that faces the living room or an open social area, so the people sitting at the island are part of the conversation while the cook has the workspace behind them. Before you finalize your island dimensions with your contractor, tape it out on your actual floor with painter's tape. Walk around it, open your appliances, simulate pulling something out of the fridge and carrying it to the counter. If it feels tight in tape, it will feel significantly worse with real cabinets, real people, and real cooking happening simultaneously. Number 4 is white or very light grout on kitchen floors. This one seems obvious, and yet people still do it. Usually because the tile showroom has a beautiful display with crisp white grout under warm lighting, and it looks absolutely perfect. And it does look perfect there, under those lights, with no actual use happening. The problem is that kitchen floors take a genuinely brutal beating. Spills, dropped food, grease that settles from cooking over time, daily foot traffic, pet paws, dragged chair legs. White grout on a kitchen floor turns gray, yellow, or brown within months, depending on what you cook and how you live. You can seal it, absolutely, but sealing is not a permanent fix. You have to reseal it on a regular schedule, and in between applications, it still stains. I have been in kitchens where the homeowner is literally on their hands and knees with a grout pen every couple of months, trying to keep things looking close to the day of install. That is not a good use of your time or your energy. Use a medium to darker grout on kitchen floors. Even a warm gray or a sandy tan grout makes an enormous practical difference in how long that floor looks presentable between deep cleans. The tile itself can still be light colored if you want that bright, open kitchen feel. Just do not fight gravity and foot traffic with white grout at floor level. You will lose that battle every single time, and you will spend years being annoyed about it. All right, number 5. This one is going to bother some people. The farmhouse sink as the centerpiece of the kitchen. And look, I am not saying farmhouse sinks are bad. In the right kitchen, in the right layout, with the right setup, a farmhouse sink looks genuinely good, and it does have real ergonomic benefits, particularly that front apron face that gives you more comfortable clearance when you are standing at the sink for a long time. The lower belly position alone can help with back fatigue, and that is a legitimate functional advantage. But here is the problem. People are installing large, single-basin farmhouse sinks in kitchens, where they simply do not work practically. A big single basin sounds like more room, but in practice, everything slides toward the center drain and sits in standing water unless you are running it constantly. You cannot easily separate hand washing from dish rinsing. You cannot let one side soak while you prep in the other. A significant number of people end up buying sink grids, rubber mats, and over-sink cutting boards to compensate for the lack of compartmentalization, which starts to undercut the whole clean aesthetic you were going for in the first place. There is also the installation cost that people do not fully anticipate going in. Farmhouse sinks almost always require a custom cabinet modification or a specifically designed sink base. If you are retrofitting one into an existing kitchen, you are often cutting down the cabinet face frame and potentially reinforcing the base structure, because these sinks are genuinely heavy, especially cast iron models. That adds real labor and material cost on top of what is already a more expensive sink choice. If you love the look, pursue it, but at minimum, choose a farmhouse sink with 2 basins when possible, and make sure the people installing it have done this specific type of installation before. The rough-in details matter a lot here. Number 6 is something that does not get enough attention in kitchen design conversations, and that is the complete lack of dedicated pantry space or proper storage planning from the start. People spend enormous amounts of money on quartz countertops, custom cabinet door profiles, statement hardware, and designer light fixtures. And then they either run out of budget or sacrifice storage space to accommodate a bigger island or an additional window or an open shelving wall. And suddenly, the kitchen that looked incredible in the design phase is cluttered and impossible to organize the moment real life moves into it. Here is what I see all the time. A kitchen gets fully renovated, beautiful result, great finishes, everything looks amazing at the reveal. But there is no pantry, and the overall cabinet storage was reduced during design to make room for other features. Now, all the non-perishable food, the canned goods, the cereals, the small appliances, the paper towels, the cleaning supplies, they have nowhere designated to go. So they end up on the countertops, and nothing destroys the look of a newly renovated kitchen faster than permanently cluttered countertops. A functional pantry does not need to be a massive walk-in situation. A well-designed reach-in pantry cabinet, even 36 to 48 inches wide and 18 to 24 inches deep with pull-out shelving and door organizers, is genuinely life-changing in terms of daily kitchen function. If you are working with a contractor or a designer on a kitchen renovation right now, one of the first questions you should be asking is, where is all the food going to live? If you cannot get a clear and confident answer to that question, you do not yet have a complete kitchen plan. Period. And while you are at it, ask where the stand mixer, the air fryer, the blender, the toaster, and the coffee maker are going. If those items do not have a specific designated home in the design, they are going to live on your countertops full time, and your beautiful new kitchen will look like a storage unit within 2 weeks of moving back in. And the seventh feature is subtle, but it matters more than most people expect at resale and in daily visual function. It is making cabinet hardware choices that are too trendy, too specific, or too experimental without thinking through the full picture. I am talking about the oversized arched pulls in a very particular custom finish that you love right now, or the ultra minimal push to open system with no visible hardware at all, which looks stunning in a high-end European kitchen showroom and genuinely confusing in a busy family kitchen. Here is the thing about hardware. It is the jewelry of the kitchen. You look at it every single day. You touch it every single day. And because it is relatively inexpensive to change compared to cabinets or countertops, people tend to assume it is a low-stakes decision. But the finish you choose for your pulls and knobs needs to coordinate intentionally with your faucet finish, your light fixture finishes, your appliance handles, and your sink accessories. When those finishes fight each other, the kitchen feels off, even if you cannot immediately identify why. I have walked into kitchens with beautiful cabinetry and great countertops that just did not feel right. And when you trace it back, it almost always comes down to finishes that were each chosen individually, without thinking about the room as a whole. Also, the push-to-open systems, the ones with no visible hardware on flat cabinet fronts, look incredible in the showroom. In real daily use, they require very precise installation and calibration. They can drift out of adjustment over time with temperature changes and heavy use. And when they stop catching correctly, you end up either shoving cabinet doors too hard or dealing with doors that will not stay fully closed. In a family kitchen, with heavy daily use and kids involved, they require more ongoing attention than a simple bar pull or cup pull ever would. That does not mean you cannot use them. It means go in with clear expectations about what the maintenance commitment actually looks like. My practical recommendation on hardware is to choose a classic finish, either brushed nickel, matte black, or warm brass, depending on your overall palette, and pair it with a simple bar pull or cup pull in a 3 to 5 inch center-to-center size. These styles have staying power. They look intentional without being so specific that they date the kitchen quickly. And when you are ready to refresh things in 5 or 7 years, hardware is one of the cheapest and easiest swaps you can make. Just do it consistently throughout the kitchen so everything speaks the same language. Look, the kitchen is the single most used room in your house for most families. It is where you start your morning, where the family gathers without being asked, where guests end up whether you planned for it or not. And because of that, every design choice you make in that space is going to get tested thousands of times. Not just on reveal day, not just in the photos you post, but on a regular Tuesday evening when you are tired, the kids need dinner, and you just need your kitchen to work without fighting you. The best kitchen renovations I have ever seen are not the ones with the most dramatic features or the biggest budgets. They are the ones where 12 months later, the homeowner tells me everything just works. The storage makes sense. The layout flows naturally. The materials are holding up the way they expected. Nothing is unexpectedly high maintenance. That is the actual goal. Tell me in the comments which one of these you were about to do, because I guarantee at least one of them is sitting in someone's renovation plan right now. And if this video helped you catch it before you committed, that is real money and real frustration saved. A good kitchen renovation is not about chasing every trend you see on social media or recreating a photo that got a million likes. It is about making choices that still make your daily life easier when the photographer is gone. The novelty has worn off, and you are just standing at your sink on a random Wednesday morning, trying to start your day without fighting your own kitchen. Make choices that serve that moment, not just the reveal. Hit like, subscribe, and share this with someone who is in the middle of a kitchen project right now because they need to see it before they finalize anything. I'll catch you in the next one.